Sentry mode activated. Target acquired.
Hey there, fellow Tarnished Hunters. Just coming back with another update into my modding for Elden Ring and what I've been working on and what I plan on doing with this game. And yeah, unfortunately, I seem to have a lot more time to mod since I'm not really streaming or anything, and so I'm just kind of doing a lot more with this than I thought I was going to. But anyway, while I talk about that nonsense, I'll be showing you some of the added features and changes I've had to the mod since the first update vid. But yeah, anyway, just, let's get into this. Alright, so the original release was pretty janky for sure. I was given some assistance and managed to edit the names and descriptions for the weapons I've made, so it looks a lot better and a bit more official now. In order to use this though, you do have to manually unpack and patch the game yourself before using it, so it's not super convenient for most people, but again though, it's not really necessary. I mean, are you really going to look at your weapon names all that much? But that was fun to figure out, and I'm glad I got that done. Next was the version 3 update, which I added a lot more support for throwing items. Basically, I had all the consumable throwing items turned into permanent ones like the Omen Baron or that infant fire thing. So you only need to buy them once and you can use them as long as you want. This includes crafting pot items, which is nice because they're expensive to make. The catch here is now, rather than have a limited amount of quantity you can carry, you're limited by your FP because they all cost FP now. It shows you something small like 3 to 6 or something. But this way you can now invest more into Mind, which is essentially more ammo for throwable builds, kind of like a caster build. I think it's a pretty good change, to be honest. Consumables that already required FP, like the glint stones and stuff, had their FP cost slightly increased to compensate. I don't think any of the throwables are particularly broken, even if you had an infinite supply and cost no FP, but I'm trying to make things as balanced as possible, to a degree. So a little bit of FP cost I think is a fair exchange for having an infinite amount of like kukris and stuff. Now with that, I had someone saying that I buffed bows too much and had a video of Melania where a bow was popping her for like 400 to 500 a shot, which I agree is a little too much. That's like double bow damage. It's not really what I was intending. Now it's still not as broken as some bleed builds and some other things, but I really don't want to be on that level because Elden Ring is kind of broken, and as you get higher level and start combining like some fully upgraded weapons and weapon arts, I think things are kind of insane. So I wanted this to be a bit more tame. So I uploaded a separate version of the mod that has significantly reduced scaling for bows to make them only a little bit stronger than base game, but it keeps all the other changes to throwing items and added affinities and all that such. So if you're in like New Game +5 or something and bows don't feel like they're doing much even still, you can use the base version of the game, which has higher scaling. Otherwise, if it feels like your bows are too strong, then you can use the nerfed version. Power's in your hands, pick. So the next thing on my list was to look at crossbows some more. I like where crossbows are, but ballistas still felt weird because they're essentially the same thing as great bows. So I wanted to make them more unique by converting them into shotguns. So I reduced all their damage by a ton, like 70% or something, but I made all the ballista bolts fire in a volley of 7 in a random cone. So it's a decent at crowd controlling and using against groups of enemies or very large enemies, but not so much for smaller single targets. Also, the range is atrocious, so yeah, it's a close range weapon. I mean, it's a shotgun. It's going to be hard to use due to the recoil, so make the shots count, but I think they're pretty cool. The Black Key crossbow I've changed from a sniper to a shotgun as well. It can now use great bolts, and while weaker than the hand ballistas, it does provide more mobility for shotgunning. I will say though, I played with the ballista on a fresh character, and like a level 1 ballista with 50 damage with the ballista bolts was dealing like 200 damage when I shotgunned an enemy, which is like nothing. I really hope it scales a bit harder because I might have to change the scaling around on them, because I mean, I thought they were good on paper, at least from a level 25 perspective, but the level 1 versions of the weapons are kind of bad, so I'll have to look into that one, I think. Now the shotgun crossbows did have their stamina cost increase as well, so by like 40%, so you can't really fire them consistently. And the 15 bolt limit should make them more usable for niche situations rather than going around and just blasting everything with the shotgun. So with this, now we have bows, which are the bread and butter good for everything weapon. We have the short bows being weaker but faster, and then long bows are stronger and slower. And then we have great bows, which are going to be excellent for sniping as well as breaking guards now. And then crossbows, which are better off used for those who don't want to scale strength or dex, but do want a ranged option to pull or finish off enemies, as well as those who want to apply status really quick. And now they can be buffed, so they have a lot more flexibility to them than like bows and stuff, which have a fixed element. And then lastly, we have the shotguns now, which are your close range powerhouses that leave you open to retaliation. So that's kind of where the Ranged Overhaul mod is right now. I just updated the mod for the game version 1.03.2, and I've currently started a new character playthrough to test progression to see how bows feel in new game. Because let's be real, anything into like new game plus and past that is just overpowered and crazy bonkers. So I'm gonna be doing testings based upon like, the new game cycle. And I want to start playing with this the more, and so I can get an actual good feel for this before I start adding anything else. I do want to do some more balancing. Because honestly, right now, I'm not really sure what else to add or what else I want to work for as far as ranged weapons go, but I definitely want to take a look at enemy stats and scalings as well as the player, because I feel like the game balance is super off, and I want to change that. Like, every zone past Altus has like crazy life enemies and damage, like basically one-taps players. And then players are in the same boat where, like, once you get level 20 to 25 weapons, you're one-tapping enemies, and it's just, the game balance feels all over the place. Plus, like, in the new game cycles, like, you just destroy everything, like, they're not even a challenge at all. I want to go back through and reduce some of the enemy life and damage, but also reduce player life and damage, which I know some people are going to be appalled by that idea, but like, it just kind of feels right now, and I don't feel like it's in a really good spot. I know this is like my own personal anecdote, but I just don't like it. I want to make all like the new game plus cycles feel exactly the same as new game. I want to change all the new game plus cycles to be the same as, just +1, and then just rebalance everything around that. So like it should be, adequate difficulty all the way through, because I don't think the players scale that much, with the added levels once you have like your level 25 gear and whatnot. But anyway, I'm just going off topic, but that's a ways off, and I'm going to be doing that more as a personal project rather than a public mod like this Ranged Overhaul one is. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm working off right now and what I plan on doing. If anyone has experience porting over models or something, I would love some help with that, as I'm trying to get the Doomslayer into Elden Ring. But yeah, that's basically it for me. Thank you all for watching, and good luck out there, Tarnished.